they've done lots of studies of unforgiveness, like what
Yeah.
that does to
Yeah.
people's mental health, what that does to a person's physical health, and they found that it increases your blood pressure, and it impacts your ability of your body to fight against like infections from different things, and like lowers your immune system.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holding on historically
Mm.
to like unforgiveness, right?
Yeah.
It also increases your anxiety, um, depression symptoms. Your body is constantly at like a high state. It's like on 10,
Mhm.
because it's stuck in like this fight flight kind of response. Like
Right.
it revs the body up, right?
Mhm.
And when you experience forgiveness, they've done studies about this too. Lower anxiety, lower depression, low stress.
Mm.
Your overall well-being is just better.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Wisdom and Bloom podcast. I am
Yeah.
Kamisha, and I am here with my lovely co-host Denise.
Hello.
And today we are talking about the topic of forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
this is a topic that is so relevant
Yes.
to so many all the time. I feel
All.
like it's one of those topics we don't discuss enough,
Mhm.
because if some people were a little bit more forgiving, they might actually enjoy their life a little
Mhm.
bit more
Mhm.
with just a little bit of forgiveness. And
Mhm.
so we wanted to touch on this lovely topic today with our guest, LaTanya Robinson,
Yeah.
who has worked for 20 years in mental health with adults, with children, with families. Her work has her in school settings, military bases, and community mental health centers. Tanya
Yes.
has a passion in helping to solve the mental health crisis among young people by equipping parents. That's a good place to start, isn't it? With the
Mhm.
parents,
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
information to navigate the system and to support their kids. And
Yeah.
currently, she helps in facilitating parent groups in her local school district around anxiety.
Ooh, I love it. I love it.
Yes,
I
yes.
love
So
it.
let us welcome LaTanya to the Wisdom and Bloom
LaTanya Robinson. The circle clap. The circle clap.
podcast.
Guys, thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
Thank
Welcome,
you. Thank you.
Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you. LaTanya, tell us a little bit more about your background. Anything that Kamisha hasn't touched on that you would like to share, and then tell us how did this journey start? How did you get here in this space that you are today with helping with children and families and anxiety as a social worker? Tell us how you got here.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I think Kamisha did a really good job of kind of just
Yes.
summarizing all that I've had the opportunity to do in the field of mental health. But in terms of working with kids and their parents, I always enjoyed working with kids. So even when I was in high school, I would volunteer at my church as like a counselor person or like a teacher's assistant, doing like different various church activities. In college, I worked at a camp as like a girls director, um, or like a program director at a camp. I did those two
Mm.
jobs. I wasn't a
Mhm.
good program director, so I went back to being a girls director, like just being in charge of all the counselors that worked with the young ladies. I'm just being real. And so I've always just been drawn to like kids. I really
Yeah.
enjoy working with kids. And I've always been drawn to helping those kids who just needed a little bit more. And
Yeah.
so
Mm.
I guess the one thing that Kamisha didn't say is that I have my undergraduate degree in speech language pathology and audiology, which is
Wow.
just a fancy word to say like I used to work with kids who had
Mm.
like language and speech disorders.
Mhm.
Mm.
So I did that with my bachelor's. You did a master's for that, um,
Mhm.
but because there was such a need for someone with that background, I did work as like a speech therapist just with my bachelor's, as like a substitute in the school
Mhm.
system,
Mhm.
and then with just a school system just kind of doing that work in anticipation of getting another master's degree in that area. And so um, that really helped to really hone my desire to really work with kids who like had some type of special needs, whether it was ADHD or
Yeah.
autism or any other type of impairment that impacted their ability to kind of communicate. So I think that along with, then it kind of shifted more to the mental health, the social work aspect. I think that's always been something that's just been a part of my background for a long time, of just wanting to volunteer and to work with kids who just needed a little bit more.
What we want to talk about today was forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
And one thing is, how do you forgive the unforgivable? And a lot of times things happen to people and they think that they can't forgive. So I wanted to know, what patterns have you noticed when it comes to how people deal with forgiveness or resist? I have a situation in my life, a few situations where I resist the act of forgiveness. I literally do not want to forgive. And so I was wondering, what patterns have you noticed when it comes to how people deal with it or don't?
Yeah, I think it depends on, I guess, if people want to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
I think you just start there. And I know with my clients, folks that I've worked with, or just even kind of just interacted with, just friend to friend or professional, or whatever that role or situation is,
Mm-hmm.
that I think I'll start with the resistance part first. I
Yeah.
think there's resistance because there are misconceptions about what forgiveness means, right?
Ooh,
So some people,
dive into that.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, maybe we should
So
talk about a definition
yeah.
first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think so. I guess I'm using forgiveness as a term for a person who is able, through whatever kind of process, to
Mm-hmm.
release negative feelings of like vengeance,
Ooh.
or anger, or any other type of emotion
Mm-hmm.
that's negative towards
Mm-hmm.
that person that they believed harmed them. Right?
Wow.
So it's being able, in a very deliberate, intentional way, no
Mm-hmm.
longer to have negative feelings towards that person for the harm that was done to you. That's
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 work.
that's my kind of summarized version
Yeah. Yeah.
of,
That's work.
forgiveness. Yes, ma'am. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think the resistance comes when you believe that in order for me to release those negative emotions, that
Mm-hmm.
somehow lets you off the hook for what I believe you did to
Mm-hmm.
harm me. And so a lot of people resist forgiveness because they're like, I'm by forgiving them, I don't want them to think that what they did was okay. Right. And so they believe that in harboring those feelings of like vengeance, anger, hate, whatever negative emotion that you want to attribute to your feeling of what happened to you, um,
Right.
they want to hold on to that anger because it feels like they're holding the person accountable, of
Mm.
what was done to them. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, one, does the person want to forgive, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And why? But then it's also talking about what is forgiveness to you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
kind of going through whatever that process is going to be to figure out if that's something that you want to do, and then also untangling false misconceptions about what forgiveness means, because forgiveness does not mean that what the person did to you like never happened, or
Mm-hmm.
that they weren't wrong for what they did, because they were, right?
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness is more about you, right?
Yeah.
Like what's going on with you,
Yeah.
and where you want to go. Like basically, is you not forgiving that person, how is that profiting you? Is
Mm-hmm.
that benefiting you? How is that going for you, not forgiving this person? Because if it's not going well, and most people, if they're honest, they'll say, Tanya, it's not working for me. You need
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
to this because it's harming me. And I'm like, okay, well, now we
Probably
have an
why I'm in
opening now
therapy.
to have this kind of conversation. But
Mm-hmm.
if someone's like, yeah, I'm mad, I'm upset, and they're like in the thick of things, you see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That's
Mm-hmm.
maybe not the time to talk about forgiveness. It's about getting you well and healthy, getting some time past whenever that the harm that was done to you
Mm-hmm.
happened. And then when you're in a place where you're stable, you're grounded enough, you're like, okay,
Mm.
I think I want to move on from the harm from the past. Then we can have a conversation to see what do you need in order to keep going on like your healing journey, you know?
Mm.
I think go ahead, Kamisha, because I'm
Well,
about to dive
I know
in.
you probably have a lot of things, but I just
Oh.
wanted to say one thing. Well, I mean, I pulled out a couple of things, but one of the
Mhm.
Yeah.
things that I pulled out that you said, Tanya, is what forgiveness is not
Yes.
necessarily,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
What forgiveness is not. So
Hmm.
forgiveness is not forgetting. Because
Hmm.
we also used to have that phrase, oh, forgive and forget, forgive and forget,
Hmm.
forgive and forget. And then if
Hmm.
you can't
Hmm.
forget, then it's like, can I really
Yeah,
forgive if I can't forget? Well, it sounds like you don't have to forget, right? So
that is
forgiveness does
correct.
not mean you have to forget.
Hmm.
Forgiveness does not mean you have to excuse the person, right?
That is correct.
Forgiveness does not mean you let the person off the hook.
Yeah.
Forgiveness does not mean that they even deserve to be forgiven,
That
right?
is
Because it's also for you, it's not necessarily for them. So I like how you kind of flipped it to say, it's not just about what forgiveness is, but it's also kind of what forgiveness is not. And once you
Hmm.
untangle those
yeah,
from making them all mean the same thing for forgiveness, then it might be easier if that's a path that you're on.
that is correct. Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
I
summary. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying Kamisha did a really good job of just kind of like summarizing that up. Yeah.
I, what struck me is when you said too is that we continue to hold on to it because we don't want to appear as we've let this person off the hook.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's powerful to me because I've got several situations where
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely do not want to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about it in my therapy sessions with my therapist. And every time I talk about it, I get emotional. I'm crying. The fear sets in. There's triggers, everything.
Yeah.
She had sent me this whole, which how we got here to this topic. She had sent
Yeah.
me this whole pamphlet about understanding forgiveness. And I said to Kamisha, I said, I think this is a great opportunity for us to bring on someone to kind of
Mhm.
talk us through forgiveness because that thing is is it paralyzes you sometimes on the inside. The
Mm.
triggers, the fear of whatever has happened. And then when you said it's like you're letting that person off the hook,
Yes.
that set in fear to me just then because it was like,
Uh,
I can't let that person, I can't,
yeah.
you know, no one, he was never held accountable for what
Uh,
he did. And then so if I forgive him, then now he's he's free, he's
yeah.
released.
Mm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, that's hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. But I think once you realize, because like the only person that we can control is ourselves, right?
Hmm.
And so I think once you're able to kind of untangle what it is and what it isn't, and if you want to release all of that,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Then I think it does encourage someone to kind of move forward,
Yeah.
right? To move on this other path because holding on to they've done lots of studies of unforgiveness, like what
Yeah.
that does to
Yeah.
people's mental health, what that does to a person's physical health, and they found that it increases your blood pressure, and it impacts your ability of your body to fight against like infections from different things, and like lowers your immune system.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holding on historically
Mm.
to like unforgiveness, right?
Yeah.
It also increases your anxiety, depression symptoms. Your body is constantly at like a high state. It's like on 10
Hmm.
because it's stuck in like this fight flight kind of response. Like it
Right.
it revs the body up, right?
Hmm.
And when you experience forgiveness, they've done studies about this too. Lower anxiety, lower depression, low stress.
Mm.
Your overall well-being is just better, right?
Mm. Hmm.
And so I think the person who's going to be on this journey, they really want to get there, right?
Yeah.
Like they have some other type of motivation as to why they want to move down this path of of forgiveness. Because unfortunately, it it ties you to that person, right?
Yeah.
way that is
It ties you.
unhealthy.
It's more of releasing yourself, is what I'm hearing.
Ma'am, yes.
Right? So it's not really like it's not releasing the other person from the wrong that they've done or
That's right.
releasing them from any accountability, even.
That's correct.
I mean, although maybe they, sometimes they're held accountable and sometimes they haven't been. But
Mm-hmm.
from the person's standpoint who is the forgiver, I guess,
Yes.
that you're releasing yourself, right? That's what you're kind of doing. It's like you're releasing yourself from this attachment to this anger, to this resentment, to this
Mm-hmm.
upset and vengeance, right? And
Mm-hmm.
kind of allowing you to not, I don't want to say move past it, because that kind of minimizes whatever has happened,
Yeah.
because there's different things that people want to forgive others for, from small
Yeah.
things like maybe you said a small lie or something, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't need
Mm-hmm.
to forgive me, da, 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 or,
Yeah.
or it could be some kind of huge violent act or something. But it's still more about the person releasing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And if you shift, I think, how you look at the forgiveness, it's not about them, it's about you. You can still think that they're horrible, terrible people for whatever it
Yes.
is they've done or whatever it is that they've said. But
Yes.
it's more about my health, and who I am is more important than what this person did to me.
Yes. Yes. And it puts control back in your own hands.
Yeah,
And your
control.
forgiveness is no longer tied to what that other person now is going to do. Because there's some
Mm-hmm.
people that say, well, I'm going to withhold my forgiveness until they apologize.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to withhold my forgiveness until, they compensate me for that money or whatever that they took. Like there has to be some type of like reciprocal kind of exchange.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
find that also keeps people stuck,
Mm.
think in their own development. Because if you're trying to tie your ability to be free, to show up in life unburdened and healthy on somebody else who already done you wrong, right? So the likelihood
Right, the
of them
chances of
coming
that.
back to you to be like, Kanisha, I'm so sorry, or Denise, you know what? I was wrong. Now, I'm not saying to have somebody who harmed you, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
come to you and say, you know what? You were right. I
Yeah.
was wrong. I shouldn't have done, and you can fill in the blank with whatever that is. It
Mm-hmm.
feels good. It feels
Mm-hmm.
good. It is validating because you're like, I know,
Yes.
and it feels good to have that person who did wrong you to say, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. It feels good,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's a gift. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, that's not anything that you can control. The Lord, whatever your spiritual belief is,
Mm-hmm.
has to work on that person's heart for you to get that. I find that a genuine apology is not
Right.
because you're there with your fists near them saying you
Mm-hmm.
apologize, because that's not genuine, right? But a genuine apology, it feels good. But
Mm-hmm.
however, for our conversation now, you don't need that for forgiveness. You don't.
Yeah.
It's about you and what you're willing to let go. Sometimes I find that perpetrators, I know I had one client, her husband cheated on her
Mm-hmm.
multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And the husband was like, hey, forgive me. I was wrong. I forgive you.
Yeah.
And so that's basically like what the wife said, like, I forgive you and I want a divorce, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the husband,
The end.
yes, and
Mm-hmm.
the husband was like, well, you haven't truly forgiven me because you're trying to break our marriage up. And the husband didn't want the marriage to be broken up. But the
Mm-hmm.
wife was like, no, I can forgive you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have to go back to how things were. Like I can still have boundaries,
Yeah.
right? Like my giving you forgiveness isn't to make you feel better or is an excuse to somehow, I don't know, like go back to whatever the relationship was before
Was.
the harm
Which it could never
done.
be. It can never
So
get back to what it used to be.
now, Denise, like there's some people, like you can
Yeah.
probably Google it now. There are some people who are like, my husband cheated or my wife cheated, like somebody cheated, and they still they're like, and we got divorced, and guess what? They got remarried. Or people who are like, you know what?
But you know
Just
what?
worked on it.
I've seen I know a friend.
Yes,
Y'all,
ma'am.
I know a person. that remarried her husband twice, three times,
Okay.
twice or three times.
Yes, ma'am.
And which is fine. I mean,
Hey.
support her, she's my friend, but I don't think that it was ever, when we say let's get back to where it was. I don't think that that's possible for you to get back, because to get back to where it was is might have been a path to that led to the cheating. So why go back to what it was? Why not renew it and make it better and try to figure out the resolve of what the root cause was, and see if you can figure that out, how to make that better.
And and maybe other people have, who are able to kind of like forgive, and they were able to kind of keep going, and maybe that's what ends up happening, Denise. They renegotiate the terms of that relationship.
Renegotiate.
So they're married, but maybe if we were a fly on that wall, this is what it looked like before.
Yeah,
Then
this
when
is what
the
it looked
breach
like.
happened, and then they've got something new going on, and they were able to still keep that relationship trajectory still going forward. And then there's other people who are like, I
Which
forgive
is
you. And
great. I
yes,
love
it's
that.
wonderful.
I
It's great.
love that. We as humans and couples,
Sure.
we can figure it out. We can
Sure.
figure it out. But I love what you said about being reciprocal. It reminded me of something my husband told me, that sometimes relationships are transactional.
Mm.
And when you were saying that some people have to get something in order to forgive, it's almost like they have to give some, like, even if it's just an apology or the money you owed me
Yeah.
or something. But is that true forgiveness? Because you're sitting there waiting for something to happen or someone to give you something.
Denise, I think we all come to this forgiveness process with the lens of whatever spiritual background or
Yeah.
religious background that we grew up
Yeah.
in, whatever cultural things we have kind of that are part of our like family heritage, um, things in our family that we did, that we observed our parents or
Yeah.
other relatives doing when it came to harm being done, and then how
Yeah.
other people responded.
Yeah.
And this what our values are around this area too. And so I think people come at this at different
Different.
points, and it's a very individualized process. I think the outcome, no matter what, is that the outcome of forgiveness is you are unburdened, you are free, you are no longer bogged down with all those negative feelings of wanting vengeance or anger, or feeling your heart race every time maybe like their name is mentioned. You see a picture that reminds you of the thing, that your body and your mind are no longer responding in a negative way towards them as a person. So no matter how you get there, if that's your outcome, that's freedom. That's true forgiveness. And so, but again, I would just say with that, those people who are kind of waiting for the other person to give them something back, that to me feels a little dangerous, because then you are basically tying your emotional well-being to something that someone may or may not
never get
do.
back
And
to
so
you.
you're kind of in a prison with them, right? You're kind of locked in there. But once you're able to on your own work that out, and whatever if you need like a friend to talk through things, a therapist, if you can get yourself free, like that's wonderful. But to tie your own process of forgiveness with whatever someone else may or may not do, I want to do that. I want to be free. I want to have the ability to control how I'm showing up in the world, and I don't want it tied to what somebody else may or may not do.
I thought you said something interesting when you talked about how people get to forgiveness through their religion, right? Or spirituality, or however they were raised to think about forgiveness. And I know, I, as a person who was raised Christian, I feel like I was taught that forgiveness meant you are all good with this person. right? I forgave them. We're all
Yep.
good.
Yep.
We're either back to where we were or moving forward. But if you truly forgive the person, you let them back in your life. You allow them access. We pick up where we left off. Nothing, nothing is really changed. And then if you don't, then maybe you didn't really forgive them.
You are correct. That because that was my similar background as well too. And you are correct. It's something that's either implied, it's what they say, like you need to do this, as this will truly mean that you've forgiven them. And I will say no.
Yeah, I agree.
That I think there needs to be a renegotiation of the terms. Like I can forgive you and not want you to have access to my credit card. You know what I'm saying? Like I can forgive you, and I'm I'm not gonna have you babysit my kids.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I just,
right.
So it's about I think it's about not necessarily going back to have the same relationship with somebody as if they didn't do the wrong thing. It's being wise too.
Yeah.
Like you're releasing those negative feelings, but I'm going to show up in life a little differently. I'm not going to go in like I didn't know who you are and your character. And I still want you to do what you need to do. I hope you don't harm other people.
Right.
If you did harm other people, I hope I call the police or child protective service, like whatever the harm was. If there's something that I need to do as someone who might know information, help and save other people, I'm gonna share that information. I'm gonna call cousin Juju and say, you know what, you may not want to do a sleepover. So and so. Don't matter if they're family, don't matter if they're friends. It's just that young person just needs to be supervised. I'm just letting you know. Now I forgave whatever, you know what I'm saying? But we're just gonna move about differently, and it doesn't make me a bad person. But I think you bring up a good point in that sometimes other people want to be in your forgiveness business.
Yes.
and that is not their role. Forgiveness is really it's between you, Jesus, and whatever your entity, or like it's a very personal thing.
I love that.
But because other people, they have other motivations and other things going on. They're worried about family dynamics at the cookout. They've got other things that they're worried about. And it's not forgiveness. It's about appearances or making things appear to be that's not forgiveness. That's something else, but it's not forgiveness. And so I think people really need to be careful of other people trying to counsel you about what you need to do as someone who's been harmed by somebody else. I would be very careful and discerning who is speaking into your life when it comes to forgiveness, and to see, are they about you or they have some other type of agenda. But that can also make people feel pressured to forgive or do a performative type of forgiveness process. That's for other people, but it's not for the person that was harmed.
Yeah. I love that you said people try to be in your forgiveness business, because that is absolutely true. I've had a friend of mine tell me, you just need to get over that. You need to go ahead and forgive that and give that to God and get over that.
Well,
not even realizing what it has done to my life, how it has reshaped my life for the worse in some cases, how it has triggered me on several occasions, or why I stay in the house so much, or just not even thinking of all the things that has happened in my life, that incident has changed the trajectory of who I am. You know what I mean? You need to get over it. You need to give it to God and just get over that.
Let go and let God.
Hey, and
that's what they say, right? Let go and let God.
It's true. Like, people do say that, and I guess if that term has helped other people, I say, well, amen. But for other people, it feels very much, and I think it's what you said, Denise. It doesn't. It's a quick little retort but it does not, when a person uses that term, it doesn't really acknowledge the harm that was done and what's happening with you. And to me, that response from someone who's your friend or a family member, I think that says more about their own feelings of maybe being uncomfortable with what's currently happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, especially when unforgiveness happens between people, like a family situation or like friend groups, it has ripple effects, right? Like now we can't all go together on the cruise, right?
Oh,
Because
this is good. Yeah, that's
because
true.
Denise or someone like they're beefing and now we can't do anything, right? And so there's a secondary gain for other people to be like, Denise, fix things up with Bethany. I'm just putting out random names. Like, fix it up because we want to go on the cruise. We want to keep
We
our
want to have a good
friend group
time.
Yeah.
together, right? And in order for that to happen, they need y'all to fix this because it's becoming uncomfortable to them. Or it could just be a friend who they're just tired of listening to it, right? Like they're just not a professional therapist, and their own capacity to engage with your pain
Yeah.
is low, right?
I
They've got
agree
their
with
own
that.
stuff that they're dealing with, and they can't be there in that pit of darkness with you. They're like, please get it together because I feel uncomfortable. And again, forgiveness is a very personal process. And I think when people can remember that, and maybe if they have a healthy support network, right, of other people in their life that recognize that and will give you space for you to deal with whatever you need to deal with. I I know not everybody has that, and that's definitely like a privilege, but it's a process that you can't rush, right? It really has to come from your own where you are. You also have to have the capacity to be able to share your story. That's why I think therapy, I think, is just wonderful because you have the time to really talk about all those things in session. Sometimes group therapy or like a group process that can be very helpful to hear other people who've been wronged in the same way. I know like different churches, they have different groups for people who have been cheated on, or grief groups or boundary. Like there's all these different groups that you can be a part of, and some people like that even better, right? Just that one-on-one. So I think whatever process you need to unpack your story, to feel heard, and then to figure out what do I need to move forward, and if forgiveness is a part of that, then I really do believe that people can find what they need in order to make that work for them, right? But I don't think people might say, like, do you think everyone needs to forgive? I'm like, I don't know. It depends. It depends on what you've got going
Every
on.
situation is
Yes,
different.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so, but if forgiveness is a path that you want to be on, I think you will get there at your own time.
Yeah, but I think that's a good point too. You got to want to forgive the person because that's the first step, right?
Yes.
It's not because other people tell you need to forgive the person. It's not because, you know, someone has said you'll feel better. It's like, no, I'm okay with my anger right now.
That is,
I'm not
I'm
ready.
gonna sit right here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit right here.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit right here with it, and when I'm ready, then I will work through it, because you have, like you said, other people who want to rush you through. Like, you know, you may go on about this for a long time, or you know, that happened 10 years ago. Like, why don't you just like let it go? You know, and it's like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to let it go. I'll be ready to let it go when I'm ready to let it go, or not. You know what I mean? Like, or not. And I also don't think that your forgiveness needs, and I'll let you just jump into these. I see you like,
No, I know you're about to say it. You're about to say it. I feel it. I feel it coming.
You feel it? Oh,
yes.
Okay.
You're about to say it.
I was gonna say, okay, we're gonna see. I was gonna say, I also don't think that forgiveness has to be tied to an apology from the other person.
Yep. Or
and
a
if you are
timeline
sitting
of
around,
apologies.
yeah, if you're sitting around waiting for the other person to recognize their wrongs and understand all the hurt that they done caused to you and your life, and you know how it's put you on this bad path, and what, no, okay, then you're never gonna forgive. You're never
because
gonna,
they may not understand, or they may not care,
or they may not care.
They literally
may
not
know.
care.
They may not care. They may not get it. They, you know, they may know, but they're like, well, it
Whatever.
wasn't a big deal. You know, like, I'm
Mhm.
not sure why you keep going on about this.
Well,
And so waiting for an apology before you move through your forgiveness is
Mhm.
also not going to be beneficial to you,
Mhm.
because I'm sure we've all had challenges. I know personally for myself, I had a challenge with my dad. Like, my dad,
Yep.
he was
Me
just not
first.
anybody who was a
mhm.
reliable father,
Wow.
right? And so for a long
Mhm.
time I was mad at him. Like, I didn't know how mad I was at him until I almost got into a fight with him at my brother's graduation party. I was like,
Yeah.
man, maybe I'm mad, you know? And
Mhm.
so it
Mhm.
probably took like another 10 years for me
Okay.
to be like, I don't want to be mad at him anymore. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was just enough, you know?
Yeah.
And I had my own kids by that time, and I just wanted to be in a different place, like as a
Yeah.
parent, right? I didn't want to be walking around with this like anger and like resentment
Yeah.
Mhm.
towards him. And so it took me some time, but I worked through my anger, and then I actually forgive him for, how he was when I was younger, right? Not trying to be
Yeah.
like, you're a terrible father, you do this. Like,
Mhm.
you had whatever happened to you that led you to that place.
Mhm.
And it wasn't even until many years after that, after I had told him, I forgave
Mhm.
you, that then he apologized. Like, it was after I
Yeah.
had come to, I'm forgiving you. You
Yeah.
were doing whatever you were doing, and it didn't allow you to be the kind of father I thought you should be. And it was, much later that he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm so sorry. I was terrible. Da, da, da. But had
Mhm.
I waited for that to
Oh,
happen, like,
Kamisha.
how would that have
Hmm.
affected me, as a mom, of
Mhm.
boys, even, sons? Like, that's not gonna help me become or be on my path, as you said, right, Tanya, the path that I was trying to be on
Yeah.
as a person who wasn't just, walking around like that, holding on to something.
And there's no timeline. Like you said, it took another 10 years.
Mhm.
People try to put a timeline
Mhm.
on forgiveness, oh, that happened, a long time ago. You need to let that go. I mean, I have a couple people, but one person in particular who bullied me really bad when I was in middle school. And about, I don't know, about 10, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, they friended me on Facebook
Mhm.
and I didn't accept the request. And I just happened to be out to lunch with someone and they brought the person up. And I was like, oh, yeah. I said, they've, sent me a friend request. And she said, well, you should accept it. And I said, no. I said, I still have scars from, mental and spiritual scars from what she did to me in middle school.
Yeah.
And the person was like, girl, that was when we was kids. Everybody get bullies. You should let that go. And I thought, no, everybody doesn't get bullied. That is not normal. That is not a normal thing that should happen to kids. No other child should make another human hate just going to school or hate even stepping out of their house at night in the morning time. That is not normal, and we make it normal and we want to put a timeline on our pain. That's for me to work through. You can't put a timeline on that pain, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I thank you to Denise and Kamisha for just sharing your own personal experience with that.
Mhm.
It could take years. And
Yeah.
I and I'm happy that you were able to kind of get what you needed even before you had, I'll call
Mm.
it the gift of an
Yeah.
apology. Because many
Yeah.
people don't get
They
an
don't get
apology
it.
at all. The other
Mhm.
person's like, yeah, they don't care. They don't get back to you. But when you do receive it, it does feel good. And I consider it a gift. It's like, thank you. You didn't have to
Mm-hmm.
do it, but thank you. I don't need it as much.
Mhm.
I
Mm-hmm.
may
Yeah,
have
you don't.
wanted it like 15 years ago, but
Mhm.
I accept it now. Like, I'm willing to hear what you have to say, acknowledge that you said something, and receive
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and I, yeah, and I would say too, there's different, I think, practices that people can do
Mm-hmm.
to forgive. Because I know a lot of times people are like, well, I want closure. And so
Yeah.
I think as human beings, like, we like to like ritualize or like have a process for doing that. So I've known people who would like write a letter. So like putting all their stuff down in a letter and they put it in an envelope and maybe they put it somewhere and they never send it. Or maybe they
Mhm.
do send it, right?
Mhm.
With no expectation that the other person is going to respond back. But it's like a helpful kind of process to kind of like just get it out there, maybe have the person who harmed you to like read it, or other people are like just the cathartic process of writing it down is enough, and then they'll like burn it, right? So I think whatever type of ritual or process that you need to do for yourself in order to kind of have that closure, or something that symbolizes the release of those negative feelings from the harm that was done, I say go forth and do it. Whatever you want that to like look like, writing it down, talking to someone about it, or just, I don't know, taking things that maybe they gave you. So if it's like a marriage, you know, love letters that happened, or like cleaning your house because now you're now a single parent, and now you're in your new house, and you're like, you know what, let me pack up all the stuff that I used to share with my spouse. I'm gonna donate that, or I'm gonna give that back to
So you're gonna
them.
say like, and waited to exhale when she set all that stuff on fire.
Hey,
if it releases you,
it releases,
it
releases you,
yes,
right?
you set it all on fire.
I think whatever you need to do, do the thing. Hopefully it's legal. You're not setting fire to people's stuff and getting arrested, nothing like that. But I think it's important. I think that's why people give back people's things, or you don't friend them on Facebook, like, or other people, like when their name or you see a picture of them comes to mind, people will maybe just say a prayer for that person. Like, Lord, be with them, or maybe they have like a mantra that they repeat, you know, darkness out, like whatever your
whatever that
mantra
is that gets you through it.
Yeah, like it helps just kind of cleanse your mind, especially if it's something that you've been ruminating on, right? That you are training your mind to just like release it, and over time I think the impact will lessen if that's the path that you're on.
Well, Miss Tanya, this has been amazing. Thank you so much as we try to unpack this big word of unforgiveness. You have given us so many nuggets, you know, about forgiveness and how it is to resist and to release, and to just reevaluate it and do it in your own time, and having boundaries of people not in your forgiveness business. You know, so I love that. I love that. And one thing I wanted to wrap up with or close out with is, we ask you what was the valuable insights or your life lessons, and you said, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's okay to dream about whatever it is that you're dreaming about that's practical for you. You also said, go and do your own personal retreats. And I love that. And then you said that you love writing in journals with no lines. And I circled that because I love that you said, I love writing in journals with no lines because I like to draw and write. I think all of that process helps you to work on you, and it makes it a little bit easier for you to forgive the next person. I mean, and there are several things that I'm just not there yet, but I love that you gave us these tips. And I wanted to ask you if you could just kind of dive into those a little bit before we close out.
Sure, yeah, I've found, so I like to travel. I don't travel as much as I would like. The finances, I think, just going here and there. But even if you're doing like a staycation, or just going to like a little town that you think is like really fun, and you want to explore it just by yourself, so you don't have the kids with you who just want to get to the toy store, or a husband who's like, can we go get something to eat? You just leave them home, because I think as women especially, we are always busy. We are always caretaking, always. And there's something to be said if you could just go off by yourself, even if it's just for one night, for like a little weekend, go close to home, and just go by yourself. And just being in a different environment, it just helps you think about things in a different way, just changing your environment. And you may start thinking about things that were maybe problematic back home, but now you're able to in a different environment, right? Your brain kind of resets and you're like, oh, I think I'm going to do this for that problem, right? That you couldn't quite figure out when you were home for the past few weeks. But now that you're on this trip by yourself, there's not as much noise. You're not looking at, a bedroom that needs to be
Yeah.
get rid of all the clutter, or you're not harassing, I don't know, your husband or whatever about whatever thing. You're really able to kind of hone in on those things that have been in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Now it comes to the front of your mind, and you just have more capacity to be able to think about those things, come up with solutions, or start dreaming about, I want my life to look differently. But in the day-to-day hustle and bustle, we don't have the space. We don't usually make space for ourselves. So that's why I really like a retreat, because it literally pulls you away for a certain amount of time for you just to be, even if you don't feel like journaling all the time, but just walking to the bookstore, going to the lake or the beach or whatever your favorite environment is. It gives you space to think about things and kind of move forward, to spend time on you and what else you want to focus in on. I think it's really important.
So as we get ready to close this out, any final words, Miss LaTanya? Thank you so much. You have been amazing. We're so grateful that you're on our platform. And don't forget, I have a rain check to bring you back.
I will not forget. And thank you so much, guys, for the opportunity to talk about this sometimes complicated, emotionally laden topic. But I would say for anyone that's listening to this, you just kind of came across this and you are on that journey, or even just trying to figure out if you want to be on the journey of forgiveness, I would just encourage you, wherever you are, do what you need to do. Get grounded. I find that people who are on that journey of forgiveness, they are in a place of just healing for themselves, right? It's hard to forgive when you were just at survival level. So whatever you can do in terms of like eating, if you need medication, take the medication. Need a therapist, get a therapist. If you have lots of toxic friends, get some better friends. Exercise, like whatever you can do to take care of yourself, that's first priority. And then once that's kind of settled, then you can start thinking about other things. But most importantly, forgiveness is a you process. That's it. And whatever you need to do, if you feel like getting on that journey, you just need to do it. And it will reap very many positive benefits for you psychologically and mentally. And I think it's worth doing. I really do. It frees you.
And don't try to allow people to get in your business and give you a timeline on what and when you should forgive.
Yes, and I think you're better able to do that when you yourself are healthy enough in yourself, and then you're able to kind of create those boundaries and to push back. When you are not in a good place, it's easy to get bogged down with what other people are saying, and you don't have the emotional reserve to push back, right? So you have to get above survival level for this type of this is like PhD level stuff happening here on like the emotional mental health plane. You can't be doing that if you yourself are not where you need to be, and if you don't have the capacity for that. So once you get yourself together, then you have more capacity to do the boundary setting and to go through this process. I think.
I love that. That's some great stuff. That's some good Wednesday wisdom right there, Kamisha.
Yes, I hope it's helpful.
That was awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Tanya, for joining us here on our Wisdom in Bloom podcast, where we like to talk to women over 40 about women over 40 things.
All the ish.
I love it.
All the ish.
All of the ish. So
yes.
Thank you. And we hope, ladies, you have gotten something from this wonderful conversation. And until the next time, keep blooming,
ladies. Keep blooming.